Joel Farrell here. We are going to be talking about real estate. We are in Dallas, Texas with Tricia Gonzalez, and we were at the Apothecary. We're going to be talking about the Dallas and Fort Worth markets, what's working, what's not. Again, right now, real estate is scary. Rates are high, prices are high. What's working, what's not. And I'm sitting with Tricia Gonzalez, and we're going to be talking about first-time home buyers, talking about people who are winning and losing and maybe underwater, and talking about that younger Gen Z clientele. So, Tricia, you've been in real estate for a few years now.
Yes.
I'm going to just jump right into a scenario for you. So, I built my portfolio one primary residence at a time. Buy one, turn the one to rental, rinse and repeat. If somebody's out there buying a primary residence right now with the intent to turn it into a rental, is that a viable strategy? Are you seeing people do that right now and win?
Absolutely. Typically, that's what I'm encouraging my first-time home buyers to do, because once they have that equity, they can go do whatever they want with that equity. They don't need to sell the house. They can pull the money out. They can cash out, refinance. I think with a lot of first-time home buyers right now, they don't have a down payment. So if they're buying a nicer mid-tier home, typically they're getting the money from someone in the family, right? But if that's not you and you do want to have a nicer home one day, you have to buy that initial starter home to build that equity. So for me, I bought a brand new construction. I've been there for 6 years. I'm sitting on about $200,000 worth of equity. So while I will turn it into a rental, if I wanted to sell it, cash out refi, go buy a $600,000 home, $400,000 home, that would give me the ability to do so and still have a low monthly mortgage.
Okay. But you purchased that 6 years ago.
Yes.
Different market than it is today. So I want to just touch on that right now. So if somebody's buying right now and they're questioning, hey, well, is this a good time to buy? Will prices go down in the future? Why should I put my hard-earned money into a home where I can't necessarily get it out easily because real estate's not liquid? How are those conversations look like? How do you guide them on either maybe it's a certain market, a certain area? Like, what's the conversation like with that buyer?
Typically, I talk about what their needs are and what their end goal is with that property, right? At the end of the day, if you want to buy a property and you want to live somewhere and you're not really thinking about the future, you're not thinking about an exit strategy, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. And that's what so many of these buyers that bought in 2020, 2022, 2023 are going through right now. They bought, maybe they didn't have this conversation with the realtor, they just bought a house and now they're like, what do we do? So it's always good to have that initial conversation. How is this property serving us right now and how is it gonna serve us in the future? You'd be so surprised when you have that initial conversation with someone, what they want, and then after you talk them through it all the way, this is an investment, right? So we need to have like an exit strategy. You're not gonna live here forever. So these are conversations we need to have so we can set you up to where you could do what you did and house hack and live there for 2 years, buy another one, live there for 2 years, buy another one. I mean, isn't that everyone's dream?
What do you think is stopping more people from going down that path? You mentioned, having the money for down payment, right? And it's harder and harder to do that with the cost of living going up and inflation. But people are still doing it and saving the money, but are not buying. What are you seeing from clients? Why buy? Why not buy? What's the conversations like?
I think most clients are coming around the corner and turning around. I think these past couple years, they have been feeling that way, but I think right now with the market that we're about to enter, rates did shoot up a little bit this week, but in general, this year, they are gonna go down, and I've seen a lot of buyers come back into the market. So I think any buyer that has fear, that doesn't wanna purchase, I just kind of like, well, let's have a conversation. Why is that? And a lot of it is I think they're just probably afraid to buy. Maybe no one in their family has ever bought before. They're afraid to get into something. They've heard all these horror stories. But at the end of the day, having those conversations, educating yourself as a buyer months, years before you buy, that's the right way to go about things. That way, when you do feel like you're ready, you're like, cool, I'm confident. I know enough about the market. I know enough about housing. I've got a trusted realtor. I've got a trusted lender. And I know that I'm going to buy something that's going to be beneficial for me in the long run.
Okay. So if I'm a first-time home buyer, I know I bought my first house in 2009 with the $8,000 grant that I didn't have to pay back, but I was still scared shitless, pardon my French. I was still in a sales position, so income, you don't know what things are going to look like in 6 months. So, I was scared to buy the house, but I did for $230,000, and everything worked out. but I bought in a very intentional area in St. Louis that I knew that if I lost my job or income was down, I could rent it out easily, quickly, etc. So, what's a market that somebody may not want to look at versus one that would be helpful for a first-time home buyer to be able to buy, and it's more, I guess, safer would be the way. How do you navigate the different geographic markets?
I deal with it a lot. Everyone who wants to be in DFW typically wants to be in that mid-city center of the Metroplex area. And at the end of the day, everyone works out there, but it isn't the most affordable location if you're looking for a low rate, a newer home, a home with no issues. Once I'm able to show people, this is what you can afford here, but this is what you're able to afford here in a different location, maybe 30 minutes away, and here's the value that you get. On top of, you're gonna get more equity out of this property. You know, there's not a shortage of renters really anywhere, but some of the major areas that I'm seeing in the Tarrant, Denton County are White Settlement and Lake Worth. It's right by the Air Base and Lockheed Martin. So there's always people moving over there, buying properties, rentals, people also leaving, right? So there's a lot of turnover in that area. It's also super close to Fort Worth, so people love that. And then some other rising areas in North Fort Worth are Saginaw and Hazlet. They've got about a B tier rated school, but it's close to so much. It's close to Alliance Town Center, lots of entertainment, and it's right off of 35 as well. So, and that's a place where you could go buy a $320,000 house, and you could charge, you know, $2,000 to $2,600 a month on rent, based off of, you know, how big the house is and all that good stuff. But the biggest area that we're seeing in North Fort Worth is Justin. Justin, of course, when you're buying a property and you're gonna turn it into a rental property, you wanna make sure that you're in a good school district. That's what's gonna drive people to rent your home, right? People are out there, for some reason, they can't afford to buy their own home, but they still want their kid to go to a good school. So Justin is great. It's part of Northwest ISD, which is pretty comparable to Keller ISD, South Lake Carroll, which are A-rated school districts. And also they offer USDA out there. So you could get you could get in 0%. I'm closing one next week. You can get in 0% down and still get that really great rate that the builder's offering. And these are master plan communities. So once I show that value and I show these are the rental comps, you got the 3.99 from the builder, they're giving you all this stuff, they want you to come buy this house. It's almost too rich of a deal to walk away from. And it does have people thinking, am I open to going to a different location? That way, one day, maybe I can cash out on this and then buy that house back in the center of the Metroplex.
So again, for the people that don't know the area well, so we're talking North Fort Worth.
Yes, sir.
And then how long would it take, just highway-wise, to get to the city center of Fort Worth?
From North Fort Worth, about 30 minutes, give or take where you're at. So Justin is over there right behind the Texas Motor Speedway. But North Fort Worth has really good school districts, so that's why it is so popular. And I almost think it's like the up-and-coming Frisco, because once you have it, it connects with Flower Mound, Lantana, Copper Canyon. These are all really, 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 there's a lot of developing going on out there. And it's a very high income area as well. So
what's the difference in price, say,
so
center versus out there?
Justin is very interesting because they have homes as low as $290, as high as $700. And then once you go on the east side of 35, you're looking at in the 800,000s, couple million of dollars. And those schools are really great over there too. So there's a lot of good private schools over there. And it's just a very like rich family community, you know, there's so much to do there. And they've got great schools.
So some of the data out there about first-time home buyers. So in 2019, I think the average age was around 28 or so, and it started creeping up as after COVID and inflation, and 36 and 30, and then as of right now, it's around 40 years old as a first-time home buyer. What are you seeing with some of just your immediate, network and buyers? Like what is that typical first-time buyer? Are they in their 20s or 30s? I'm sure it's a range. What are you seeing a lot?
Typically, it just depends obviously their financial situation, but if they're educated, then we can get them in pretty young, You know what I mean? So I feel like I help so many different people. Some people are in their 50s and they're closing on their first home, and then you've got couples that are in their late 20s closing on their first home. But it is creeping up, that age. But I think a lot of people just don't know what they don't know. Even for me, I wasn't a realtor when I bought my home at 22. I really didn't know what I was doing. And it was crazy. It was a crazy experience. Obviously, I'm happy I have the house, but it's only because someone who was a realtor showed me the value, and I was like, I'm gonna run with this. And I think it's our due diligence, and that's what's so great about the power of social media, is that we are able to connect with other people that we wouldn't typically connect with, to show them what is possible. When you come from a lower income family, or families that have never, you've all rented your whole lives, right? That intimidates them. Oh, you're gonna buy a second property? Are you sure? Are you sure you can afford the first property? But I think the more you surround yourself with people that are like, I'm doing it, and they're just a regular person just like you. And if they can do it, all you have to do is educate yourself, and ultimately you can do anything that you want to. And like you said, you're house hacking, that's how you started, and anyone can do that.